Wow,
I know.
this is a legit production.
We're a professional out here, dog.
That's really cool.
That's a high compliment coming from Bobby.
Yeah.
Everybody, welcome to Chefing and Shit Talking with Cara Condi and Chris Gosser. Today we have Bobby McGee Vannoy. Bobby McGee on Instagram,
Yeah.
Bobby Vannoy, as our guest. And what did we make tonight, Chris?
So we had a essentially bougie macaroni and cheese, but
it's
no
called-
macaroni.
It's called cacio e pepe.
Cacio e pepe.
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then, your salad as well.
And then we had a nice, easy French style salad with some olives, tahini sauce, and lemon, and it was pretty delicious. I think a good meal overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, what'd you think of it?
I was about it, yeah. Nice
Yeah.
and light, got some greens.
can you give us a rating?
Out of what?
Well, you choose.
Home cooked meals.
Out of 10.
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
I'd go 8.25.
8.25. That's
I'm
high.
happy
That's
with
high.
that. Yeah.
Simple, but clean. Yeah. You
Tasty.
You know what? That was a pretty simple one. It's pretty easy to make
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Feel
It's
refreshed.
only a couple
So, it's
ingredients.
Yeah.
Those noodles held up better than the last time we
And
made
the
it.
last time we did it,
Yeah.
I
exactly.
feel like that's the key component, is like how you cook the noodle.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Little
It's
al
gotta be-
dente.
Yeah, a little al dente.
Oh,
definitely.
So
I've been
good.
wanting to do it with actual homemade pasta,
that
but
would be sweet.
we keep running out of time because
Yeah.
after training, I'll be like, I'm gonna make pasta,
definitely a commitment.
and then it's
Yeah.
too much commitment.
Too much commitment. And then all of a sudden it's midnight before we've eaten.
Yeah.
But, alright. Well, now we'll do the B-roll of the cooking. Because I can keep talking.
That was from Chloe too.
Yeah.
The
The
lasagna we made.
lasagna, Chloe.
Huh.
Because also, can you think of a lasagna without a tomato base? So we use a
Interesting.
bechamel sauce.
Yes. Finn and I made one last week, and we used that.
You did a white sauce too?
Well, yeah, it was flour, whole milk, nutmeg,
Yeah, dude.
butter,
Oh, yeah.
and we whisk it in a
Oh.
pan for an hour. We
Damn.
made it. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
sick. Yeah, it was
That's
really
hella
good.
good.
Are you big into cooking or?
We love to cook. Yeah.
Really?
We got the pizza oven,
Yeah.
the green egg. We're always whipping.
Yeah. Who's your household dynamic? How do you?
Yeah. So I've lived there 2 years, and then Sean Faulkner has lived there for a year, and then Finn Stack the same. So
Okay.
it's pretty fun. We got some friends coming in from Boulder, like I said earlier. So the house will be full. It'll be fun.
Be exciting.
Yeah.
Excuses to have big family dinners.
Yeah.
Make a bunch of
Exactly.
food. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
Be a
let's
good time.
do a little bit of an intro for anybody
Cool.
who doesn't know you. How do you identify in the climbing world, I guess?
Where you from?
Yeah, where are you from?
Okay, yeah,
what
yeah.
brought you to Salt Lake?
And
What are you doing currently?
Okay. So, yeah, I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I moved out here, I guess, right after high school. I went down to Southern Patagonia to do a NOLS course, which was a 16 credit course where we were sea kayaking for a month and a half, and then we were up in the Alpine, in the mountains for the other month.
Well.
Yeah, and so I got 16 credits, and the credits came from the U. So
Really?
Oh, sick.
And then I met a friend named Jack Francis on that trip who was originally from Park City. So I got back, went to UTC in Chattanooga, and was looking at design programs kind of just around. And since I already had a semester done at the U, I was I should look into the school.
How did you choose the U as a NOLS course?
Well, so NOLS, basically just runs their credit system through the U.
Oh,
And
nice.
okay.
They
And then they
picked
just
that.
transfer to other
And
schools.
then they transferred to other schools. But before I was like gonna transfer out, I was like, oh, I should like at least look at the U. Like my foot's already in the door. So yeah, I looked at it, and it was like a multidisciplinary design program that they offered. That was relatively new. It had only been going for like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So I made the moved out here, and then just worked for that first full year. Worked at Black Diamond in the shop. We were like working on skis and whatnot. Probably can't cuss in this.
You
No,
can.
you can.
Yeah, it's called chefing and shit talking.
Fuck him, dog. Fuck him.
Yeah, we're tuning skis and shit. And then I applied for the design program, got in, whatever. And then I think that is what kept me out here like the longest.
Okay.
Was like I was in this program and I was like really learning a lot. And at the same time I was, I moved here knowing like no one. I knew Jack Francis up in Park City.
Yeah. Were you climbing at this point?
And I was climbing, but I also was like, I skate a ton. I was skating like probably just as much as I was climbing. And then in the summers, I would just like fully like go fly fish and like ride bikes in Park City. So it was like, I lived a very different...
a true like outdoorsy.
Yeah, I was like pretty, like when it was good, I would do it. And then when it wasn't good, I would just move on.
Perfect balance.
Like skating and climbing have always been kind of like the longest standing things that I've done, like on a consistent basis. So yeah, my time at the U, like I started climbing and like meeting people. Like I think Salt Lake's really cool for that. It's a pretty tight community. Like once you want to be involved.
Yeah.
And so yeah, started doing that, and then now here I am. So
I've heard really good things about the design program. Did you like it?
That's a hot take.
Ooh, maybe that is a hot
question.
take. I guess I've heard a lot of people who liked it, but
Yeah, I think it's a really cool program. I don't know how deep I want to go into all this, like what we have time for, but the design program is cool because it's set up as like a multidisciplinary design program. So it's not like you're going to school for industrial design or you're going to school for fashion or photo or media. They really try to like
get you like well versed.
Get you well versed in a lot of disciplines, which in today's day and age I think is really valuable as a designer.
Cool.
To be able to cross mediums efficiently and almost seamlessly is kind of like the goal. As you can imagine, like rolling out a film project, if you can also orchestrate the graphics and like how that's launched as well as like an event, I think design can lead into like events because it's all a similar practice.
We spoke about that in the last talk with Chloe about generalists and specialists in society, and the moral or the summary is you want to generalize until like the very end and then specialize and then get really serious. Yeah. Because you keep all those roots in.
And so
like
that,
well-skilled,
yeah, and I think
well-versed.
what happened with me was like I've been in high school I was like running brands, I was printing shirts. I spent almost every day after school I had like a studio at my high school. Yeah. And it was like a mixed medium kind of studio, so we were doing all sorts of work. Anyways, I've been doing that sort of thing for what feels like my whole life. Yeah. Like my dad and I, it's a crazy story, we built a boat from when I was like 5, and it took like 7 years.
Wow.
Oh,
Or sorry, I was like more like 10, and it took like 7 years.
Okay.
Dang.
So it's like my earliest memories are like in a studio
designing
and like working with my hands, and so I think that's where I kind of struck my first conflict with the program. Was I felt like, which I understand academic settings, that you want to get everyone on a same level. Yeah. And I think that's really valuable, and I think I learned a lot from taking that time to like settle what my thoughts were. But I do wish that they would have given the students like more freedom as older students. You know, I feel like
more creative.
Yeah, and like I think
liberty or something.
The whole thing around the design program is, they accept around like 30 to 40 kids a year.
Whoa, it's a
pretty competitive major to be in, and I just was under the assumption that like once you make that hurdle, that they just you're there for a reason, and you don't need to kind of like check all these other boxes.
Yeah.
But instead, I think that it would have been beneficial for me just to like go.
Interesting.
And that's kind of what I did. I was like working. That's how I started SOHI Studios. Was I was in design school, and I was more interested in the stuff I was doing outside of school than the projects I was doing in school.
Yeah, because you've worked at a few places, like pretty high-end spots.
Yeah, and so I was just like, I think I need a space for this work to live, really similar to a portfolio. That's what I wanted, you know, on the Instagram or whatever. It says like project coming soon, because I think that there's never like an end like project in mind. I want to keep it like open and keep it broad and keep it like, I don't want it to be like a climbing page, you know, I don't want it to be like a design page, but
life is the project.
Yeah, and I think like that takes you down a lot of different routes, but basically, yeah, I started that to kind of highlight that work, and then that kind of started taking over. So I reevaluated my school situation.
So you started SOHI Studios and then you left the design program? Kind of not
at the same time, but yeah, like I was filming Confluence, which was a very poorly produced film, but it was the first video project that I wanted to like produce and put out. And I think showing myself that I could do that, and then also like honestly the biggest connection was like finding like a medium that I loved working with, because I'm not like necessarily an artist. Like I don't like to draw or paint or, you know, sculpt, but I do love catching narratives and trying to tell stories, and I think that video and media just happens to be a really good platform for that to like communicate well. So
yeah, it's cool you can find something like that. I don't know, maybe the difference between like an artist and a creative.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all fall under the category of artist. I think that's a whole different.
I would agree.
Yeah,
it's like
whole different argument, but
it's weird, but yeah. So yeah, when I finished, Confluence, I was like basically filming that in between classes. I'd like run up, go film Zach on GI, come down, go back to
class. He actually said that.
And just like there was like this long, 4-month project. And then put that out, and then started moving more full time in media. But
fuck yeah! And then with that in mind, where is your like direction with like SOHI now? And like what's your goal? Because like you've done some like pretty dope films recently, and like you work on some big projects. Like don't know how much you can go into.
Yeah,
but
it sounds like you have a lot in the works. So whatever you can actually tell to the masses.
I don't know,
out there.
man. I feel like you're kind of pioneering modern day climbing film.
Oh man,
where are you going with that?
That means a lot. I think the biggest, not the biggest, but something that's been big to me is I've worked on a lot of projects since Confluence, but I haven't been able to like publish that work, or it's not necessarily my work exclusively. I work on a lot of different projects as a freelance creative, so I'm either editing, I edit a ton of stuff for people, or shooting, and I feel like that, Confluence was the first thing that I got to like fully narrate and direct, and it was like a creative vision started and ended. And I think that there's always time and a place for that, but I do think the work that you're doing with other people is also super important. Yeah. Working in collaboration, it's like one of the best things that I can do for myself right now. So, the future though of SOHI, I think, is like keep it open, keep people like wondering and guessing, but also like really hone in on what the values are of it. Yeah. And I think what it's boiled down to is just like a creative studio for people to use as an asset to like storytell or document experiences or trips or whatever, that products. I think it extends in a lot of ways, and to not go into detail, definitely have some projects coming up that are gonna really exercise those muscles of some product, hard good things, as well as like obviously some other media stuff. But
no, it's exciting,
man.
Cool. It's exciting. It's really cool.
Thanks.
So you said you are a skater as well, and you've taken a lot of inspiration from the skate world as well. Like, where do you see the crossover between climbing and skating?
I think the crossover is really explicit. I think that bouldering specifically is almost identical. I mean, not identical at a cultural standpoint, but identical in the way that we obsess over these, problems.
Yeah.
Just like skate spots, we'll travel across the world to get to these climbs, and like skaters will do the same with spots. And I think that the biggest influence that has is, or maybe the biggest difference that has is like, you can go to a spot and do any trick you want. It's just like this open palette for you to like compose something from.
Creative
where
outlets.
climbing is a little more fixed, and there's like developed lines. And I think that's just the nature of the sport, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And obviously there's room for like development, but I think the culture and the style and the focus on art is so prevalent in skating, and I think that climbing for a really long time has gone through its ups and downs, and right now I just think that there's a lot of potential and growth to storytell and document what's happening, but in a different perspective.
Yeah, that's cool. I've seen a lot of crossover too with like mentalities between like skate films that I've seen and climbing and climbers, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's very similar. Like it's super similar. It's cool.
The Tony Hawk one I was telling you about before we started videoing was his whole thing was until the wheels fall off, which is like basically trying a trick over and over and over and over and over again until the wheels fall off. Like that's when you would stop. And that I think comes into climbing as well.
Yeah.
Like you just try and move over and over and over until your fingers bleed. Like kind of a similar vibe. So I see that crossover.
And I think what skating has done is, they've curated their media to express all aspects of skating. So not only is it, competition, street, full parts, like full videos, but it's also like the process of how all that happens is much more emphasized in the culture, I think, which is cool. Yeah.
I don't know if you look at it like on a global standpoint, skating is way bigger than climbing. What would you, if you could say there's like one thing they did right, which like the entire like climbing scene should look at, is like as far as companies go, or like the film scene, like what do you think the skate scene really did well?
I think they really stayed true to themselves throughout the whole thing. And I think that has its pros and cons. Like we were talking earlier, like skating has, I was listening to this interview with Virgil Abloh, the RIP, but ex-creative director for Louis Vuitton, and he was saying that like, you hear a certain style of music, you can think of a look. Yeah. And I think that can reflect a lot on skating, of like that time where, there's a lot of just backlash and just like history with skating that I think that they've used to their advantage. And honestly, like climbing has a really similar history. Like bouldering and,
start off counterculture.
In the
like
earlier
the old Yosemite films
was
too
like
and stuff.
a serious, there's a lot of crossover. So I think just recognizing that that's part of the history and respecting it is important for me to tell. But,
like stay true to it.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, and like grow with it. Like skating's grown a ton, but I also think just like the access is, as a sport, skating is so much easier to get into.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Like it's just all you need is a skateboard and you can skate anywhere. Climbing definitely has more activation energy.
Like you can
slightly
use
high barrier to entry.
You can use like a curb. You know, and you can progress so much on just a curb. Yeah. Like you don't need much, which is cool.
It is special. But yeah, I think the thing climbing needs to remember is we need to pay our dues to like the previous generations and like really respect the OG guys and the old players. Yeah. And I feel like that's something like we're all trying to do, like our best, but especially with like the new like development of climbing gyms and like kids coming up through that kind of system, it might not be as enforced and
and
as much focus done on it.
The way climbing media has changed and how you do access it, a lot of it is on the internet. It used to be like I would have Urban Climber in the mail, and I would read it, and that was like kind of the more like skate style ish magazine. Now it's like all online, all through a huge outlet of like outside. So that's where all of the media is coming from, or like a lot of it. And so I do think like the studios like SOHI are cool because they bring in this like new voice in a different way, and like you're able to access it differently.
And curate it well.
Yeah, and there's always, I really find value in just like analog experiences, like things that you can, you know, take home with you. And I think that's why throwing an in-person premiere for Confluence was like so important. It's because like, sure, you can put out a cool video, but like, I think that it can really start to extend beyond that if you push it there. And doing something like an event is so easy to do. It's like, why don't we do that more? Why don't we emphasize that more? But I think that's coming with time. So
community engagement, man,
it's huge
for the future.
And post-COVID, I feel like that also became much more relevant. Like
For
everybody
sure,
was like, we do like being in person.
Yeah, we like talking with other
maybe
people.
Maybe not don't like going into the office apparently, but but like actually going to an event just does give it so much more meaning. And
For sure.
And I think after not having it for so long too.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just thinking like in the past like couple of months, like a lot of the gyms and like private boys have been like organizing events. So there was the one at Pusher, which was like done in like personal capacities of like members of our community, and it's just like cool to see people emphasizing on community interactions and like development.
Yeah.
But
and I think here in Salt Lake we do have such a good community, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's so stacked.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're all very fortunate.
Yeah,
sure.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, should we jump onto the loaded questions?
Yeah.
And where were we at?
Okay. Okay, so first one would probably be your hot take.
Okay. Hot take right
Give
now?
it to us. What do you got?
I would say that we'll go with this one, that the South just has better rock climbing, bouldering than the West does.
Interesting. Who do you think would fight you on that?
Oh, man.
First name right now.
I think, hold on. I think a lot of people who have been to the South or spent time in the South, and let me preface, I'm not the strongest climber in the world, but
Been around.
I do like to climb, and I've been climbing for, kind of a long time. But from my experience, I've had a better time, a well-versed time climbing in the South than out here. I think, or back it up, the rock quality.
The rock quality.
I would say my two single most fun days of rock climbing outside ever were both in the South. One in Arkansas and one in
Pretty good.
Horse Pens. So
it's and I think it offers a lot of, diversity and whatnot within the climbing styles. That sandstone's good.
Sounds good. I don't know.
Really
Well,
good.
you guys might be talking about the South of America, but I'm talking about South Africa. And our sandstone's fucking good.
It's different. It's
Pretty
different.
damn good.
Rocklands is the spot.
It's like comparing Rocklands to Font, dude.
Yeah. Well, talking about the South.
Yeah.
And do you have another one? Another hot take? Or
Oh god.
Anything
you don't
non-climbing
need it.
related, like
Do you have one?
I'm gonna have a rock climbing one. Moonboard, best board.
that is a hot take. A lot of people would fight you on that.
I know.
But-
And the yellows are the best holds.
Oh, what's his little what the fuck is his
Ravioli
name?
biceps.
No, Lil Yachty's new album.
Oh.
That's what it is. Did you listen to that?
Lil Yachty.
Is it
no.
good?
It's like psych rock. It's crazy.
No way.
Sick.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if I'm into it, but
Yeah. It's a
It's
hot
worth-
take.
it's
It's
worth
worth
the
a
take.
listen. It's worth a listen.
Okay.
Lil Yachty new album. Okay, now I'm blank. I got nothing.
Alright.
it's all
Gotta
good.
move on.
Okay, we can move
gotta
on.
We did one.
Alright.
There's a lot to talk about. Yeah.
What was, and then if you could put something on a billboard for everybody to
Yeah.
see with your face next to it, or not, but either way, something that you
Yeah.
think everybody should know.
It's very much tied to you.
Yeah.
What would
I
you-
would say everything below requires reading.
Fair. It's a goodie.
And I think that's a contextual point made to like what I was talking about earlier is to understand like sports cultures, people, design, product, like it requires time put in. And I think, again, Virgil, huge inspiration, he had said that, and it was like his Instagram bio. And it's like, if you look at his feed, he wants you to understand like what is going through his mind and like what the references are referencing. So I think when I apply that to climbing or filming or anything that I do, I think when you show and understand that you've put in X amount, that you can kind of like take from that and learn from
Yeah.
that. That's like my favorite motto.
That's
mantra
cool.
ever.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe this question like falls into that, but when the very limited filming I've done and like editing I've put together, I've always tried to tell a story without like any words or any Like, I'm not trying to help the audience understand it. I want people to like pay attention and to concentrate.
Yeah.
And if somebody can see the story, then I feel like I've done a good job. How do you feel about something like that? Are you on like a similar page or?
Yeah, I think it's like a style point, I would say. And I think in the past, I've worked really focused on like, telling stories through like a visual experience rather than someone explaining what they're watching and seeing. And I think that has, again, pros and cons, but the pros definitely outweigh the cons because you can, this is kind of out there, but it's like showing a history book and instead of, writing down what happened, like what if you showed pictures?
Yeah.
Type thing of like, if you can instill an understanding without using words, I think it can come off in a really strong way.
If it works, it works.
If it works, it works. It doesn't always work though. So I've been trying to work on telling more stories with words because it's a good skill to have.
Interpretation is hard.
Yeah, but trying to dial in my interview game. Definitely need to work on it, but
one interview at a time, and here you are on the other side of it.
Yeah,
I know we're working on our interview game as well.
Yeah,
I'm impressed, honestly.
We've gotten better, I think. So.
This is tech.
Yeah,
2 iPhones.
2 iPhones.
We can cut that out.
It is 2 iPhones right now.
Yeah, literally. But
only until I get my other lens.
Yeah,
then we'll be fine.
Soon there will be less iPhones.
Yeah,
but yeah, and I don't know if you have a set date or I know you got a project coming up, like your passion project. Do you have a expected delivery date on that? Give us a hint. Give us a year.
I think
a season.
Yeah, it'll be done.
What to look out for, yeah.
It'll be done I got a few things going on.
Okay.
So it's like I think I'm really prioritizing getting this done, but then like right after like more things start up. But I'd say the biggest project is probably gonna be done in like a week.
Sick.
So, but it probably won't be premiered for another like 2 months.
Mm.
We're gonna try and
keep
put
us
together
waiting.
an event and whatnot. So keep posted.
Fair. We're psyched. Well, yeah, dude. Thank you for coming through.
Super easy.
Unreal.
Thanks for being on Chef and Chit Talking.
Yeah. To the next one.
Dig it.